Happy Sunday.
How are you? I know you're multitasking, and I told you I was going to give you an opportunity and I was going to talk, but we do have to
Yes,
say good
multitasking.
morning first.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
How you
Welcome,
doing? How you
welcome.
be? How you feel? How
Spiritual
you
shift.
spiritual shifts? We have an interesting topic
I'm good.
today.
I feel awesome. Yeah, with the Black Panther 2 is about to, you know, drop on the world. I'm excited. I want to see what they're doing. A lot of people are like fussing about stuff, but I'm still excited
Yeah, yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. No, it's kind of this whole idea of being superheroes. I think we have thought about it only in the space of film and television and comic strips and all the things. But in fact, you and I started having some conversations about this human experience really actually having a lot of superhero qualities. But we're disconnected and we're not really informed. We're made to think that that's fantasy. We're made to think that that's
Right.
not real. But in fact, if we look at it from a more spiritual lens, we I challenge those watching to begin to better understand their superhero isms inside and not to only relegate this external um, affirmation of feeling like you need something externally to execute your internal superhero stuff. So but before we
Absolutely.
get into
Absolutely.
that, yeah, before we get into that, I didn't introduce properly. Welcome to Spiritual Shift. Anybody who is new, anybody who's hopping on live, like, what is this? We come up here usually on the first and third um, Sundays of the month, but I had some traveling and I have some more traveling. So actually, we're doing today, which is actually the fourth Sunday, because October has 5 Sundays. It's just all wacky doodle. But we're here today. We won't be back though until December because we're taking November off. Um, Mainly because it's my birthday. And if anybody wants, and I'm traveling and I'm going away, far, far lands. And it just wasn't working with my schedule. All the Sundays literally are taken for me between Thanksgiving and some travel. So, but today's topic, and I'm Kenya, and this is Bishan Riley, otherwise known as Barry. You heard me say Barry. And we come up here and we chat, and this is recorded. And so, if you're not watching this lifetime, hopefully you're watching this recorded. And so today's topic is we are superheroes! Exclamation mark. So what does that
Right.
mean to you, Barry? What's that about to you?
What's that mean? Well, there's levels. I'm always talking about levels. There's levels to it. There is, of course, the level of we really can express ourselves. We have the ability to do just phenomenal things just in life, period. Just our accomplishments and our achievements, how we interact with people, how we work with people. Like superheroes, we look at superheroes as they're like just it's just one, there's just one superhero or just a good. But in fact, I think all of us are we have that ability to have the impact that superhero would have on the lives of people, just in the sense of what we were given when we got here. Before we got here, we were given these things, um, and we can impact people's lives. Like we have the ability to impact people's lives. So that's one thing, and that's just the physical and emotional, spiritual aspects of our superhero ness. The other aspect, and this could be a little controversial, but that's okay. This is spiritual shift. Is that I don't think that movies are just movies. You and I have talked about this many times. I think movies are movies to entertain, of course, but I think movies are the present day scripture. They're the present day oracle, speaking things, showing things, revealing things, explaining things. So I also, um, and it's more of a belief. I really am understanding that we are literally, like, we can literally be superheroes physically. Like, we have innate, um, kind of hidden, kind of suppressed abilities, to do amazing things, like to do all kind of amazing things. So, I mean, I know, lots of people know your abilities in astrology, you know, and astrology can be like to be able to read signs and wonders and those type of things, that can be construed as a superpower, because you can see things that other people cannot see. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that, just that strand right there, it goes in all different directions. You know, that things
Mm,
that there are things that I can do that other people really can't do. You know,
right, right.
so it's, to me, that's what it means. That's just the basic piece of what, how we're superheroes, and everybody has this. So
Mm, right.
I put a pin in that right there. Drop
I
it back
love
to
it. Well, I'm
you.
glad that you, no, thank you. I enjoyed it and I agree with you. And I'm glad that you left off saying everybody has it. And so, those who are watching, or, if you're watching the recording, if you would put in the comments your thoughts about this idea about being superheroes. Do you think that we as humans are superheroes? Do you think when you hear that word superhero, is that feel very removed, or does that feel like, yup, I'm a superhero? Um, I think when you said everybody has it, I think this is the part that I like to emphasize to people, is that in fact, our gifts, because everyone has this, everyone has a gift, everyone has something that they do uniquely, really, really well, in a really, really special way. Usually we have multiple gifts. Sometimes we're not as aware of all of them because I think, unfortunately, mainstream society doesn't give much space for people to nurture their innate gifts, and it's a journey. You have to kind of find it. But to me, that's where the superhero isms live heavily, is in our gifts, and the fact that while I can sing and somebody else can sing, or someone can draw and somebody else can draw, it's still specific to that person's talent and experience and story, which gives it a specificity that's magical and that only they can do. So everybody has it, to me, in my opinion. And I wish that we did more to help encourage each other to bring more out of our superheroisms and our gifts, because I think this is why we feel so stifled so many times, is because we will have these gifts that are not real, don't really have a space, don't really have safety around them. And so it can feel as though we're very detached from that. And I think, that's probably one of the biggest responsibilities of parenting, or being an educator, or being anybody that works with youth, because it's during our adolescence where it begins. And it's actually usually where it's the most seen. Because as we get
Hmm.
older, we get caught up in this human journey. We get caught up in this, what people have given us or told us, to be. But children
Hmm.
come very ready with all their gifts and all their energy and enthusiasm for it. And we start to quiet down if we're, like, stop, don't be so loud, don't go over there, don't do. And we do a lot of that, when in fact, that's their superheroism in its childhood state, attempting to begin to navigate this human space. And so I think it's so
Hmm.
important, as educators and
Hmm.
parents and people working with youth, to really pay attention pay attention to
Mhm.
kids' their quirks, the things that they do different that may feel obnoxious. Okay, you want to say something? I have another layer to superhero,
No,
but go ahead. No,
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 go
no.
ahead, go ahead. No, I want you to go. I want you to go. I want you to do your other layer cake. I want you to put your other
Oh,
layer
my
on there,
other
so
layer
we can
cake. Bake
so
it.
we can
Yes.
slice it.
Okay.
So we can start
We
slicing
can
it and
slice it
eating it.
up. That's
Yeah,
funny.
put your other layer on.
So
Go ahead and put your other layer.
so that's one
Put your other
layer.
layer.
That's one layer of the superheroes as our gifts. So I think that's a foundation of our gifts. I think there's another layer, and you were kind of alluding to it with the astrology, and not so much being able to read people or things like that, but which I think is, a gift too, a nurtured gift. I think we all have it. I think if you nurture it, it can really become really profound. But we're all here on a really specific journey. And this human experience, in my opinion, is a bit more of heaven than people really give it credit for, because there's so many things that we can do in this space. There's many things we can't do, but there's many things we can do. And I think if we are taking care of ourselves, so I don't know how this is going to come across, but I'm gonna just say it. I'm just say it. So think about our parents, like when they were in their 50s or 60s, or if you just look historically, how people appeared maybe in 50s, 60s. It seemed old, right? Like old, right? And
Yeah.
kind of
They're
looked
like,
maybe
oh my
like,
God, they're old. Right.
right.
They're
And
50.
almost
Oh
kind of
wow.
looked a little old, right? But now we've been
Hmm.
saying, oh, 50 is the new 30 or 40 is the new 20. And it's like, well, is it? Or is it that in fact, we are nurturing ourselves different? We are having these different experiences that maybe age isn't showing up as a parent. And I wonder if that's a superhero. And you brought this kind of to my attention. I started thinking about it. I was like, because I know that I'm going to be 50 in a couple weeks. I know a lot of people said happy birthday to me on Facebook. I was just posting my pre-birthday. That wasn't my real birthday. So all y'all over 200, 300, whatever, 400, it was like over 400, I think. Happy birthdays or, likes. That was my pre-birthday. I'm not there yet. So you still have time. November 11th is my actual birthday. And I think about, like, I look at myself, I look at you, you're in your 50s. And I say, yes, there's some good genes, and we hear black don't crack, and yes, but I think there's some superheroism in it too. I know for me, I didn't start really digging in my gifts and really showing up in my superheroisms until my 40s. Really, I really didn't sit in it. I mean, it was my kid ages, and then I took a whole 30-year, 20-year gap and got back into it. So that's another, to me, layer, is how are we nurturing ourselves mentally, spiritually, because that can be a superhero. We can show up, not even kind of like vampire kind of ish, not even looking anywhere near where we've been maybe in life, because in fact, we're nurturing soul, we're nurturing self in a way that feels that shows up more. I don't want to say youthful, but it just doesn't, the age isn't showing up because it's a superhero power. It's like this power that by
Hmm.
just taking
Hmm.
care of yourself, not by,
Hmm.
oh, I use this cream or this lotion or this. No, I live this lifestyle that is
Hmm.
affording me a better flow where age is maybe not showing up as readily. So I don't know. That's another
Yeah.
layer to it to me.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. You don't know. Well, maybe you do know. I'm gonna explain it, but you don't know um how real what you said is is real. You don't know how, like how actual on point that is what you just said, because um you know this is spiritual shift. So we talk about spiritual things as it relates to Christianity or the overall spiritual community, spiritual concepts in any religion. But in Christianity, there is, there is biblical texts that talk about people living hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years up, and whether people believe that or not, like why would someone put that in the Bible? Okay. If people weren't living, and then there was a time when that time period was cut down to 120 years. It's like, no, you're not going to live, hundreds and hundreds of years now. You're only going to live 120. Like that was a punishment, 120 years. And like, no. So just think about that concept in the Bible. People that are watching this that may be familiar with those texts in the Old Testament in Genesis. So, the ability to live hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, even the ability to live 120 years. I just went to my stepdad's birthday party, and Kenya was out of town, but I showed her pictures. He's 97. And he doesn't look anywhere near like he's 97. He's still walking around, looking good, talking good, and he's 97 years old. He still can drive, even though they took his keys from him. Everybody took his keys from him. Like, nope, you're not driving. But he's like, I can still drive. So this is the ability to live a long life, to look, to be 50, 60 and look like you're in your 30s. I mean, this is superpower, superhero stuff, and it's all tied into it. I don't mean to get scientific and stuff like that, but it is tied into our genetics, it is tied into our DNA. It is tied into just, a lot of technical things about ourselves, I want to do another layer, layer cake on this too. And, I've talked with you about this concept of indigo children, and how indigo children, are very amazing. And what they are, for people that aren't aware, they're the indigo. The word indigo is just a term that some therapists and people that were working with these children, not just therapists, but spiritual, intuit, some spiritual people that have been working with lots of these children, and they would notice the aura around them was the color, the indigo color. So they started calling them indigo children. But these children were highly functioning in ways and areas that weren't the typical, the typical expression that we're used to, or that we acknowledge or give credence to in our society. They were highly psychic. They had full, some of them had full recall of past lives. Some of them literally could do things physically. Some of them, and some of them were geniuses, like real geniuses. I just read a story, and this was a Black girl. She was the first, and I'm going to put this out too, because it hasn't been getting a lot of traction. She was the first Black girl to get accepted into medical school. And I think she is, a teenager. I think she's like 15 or something like that.
She was the first, this is recent. She was the first historically?
This is recent. No, this is the first Black woman, young girl, to get accepted into, listen to what I'm saying, medical school.
in a teenage.
She's a medical, and she's a teenager. You understand? Right. And this isn't the first. There are many children all over the world, and this is documented. You can just type up on YouTube, type up on the internet, Google, and type in kids that are in college that are 9 years old, 10 years old, 13 years old. So this is superhero stuff. This is superhero stuff. And this is the other thing that I'm, want to just express, that we have our superhero abilities latent, if they're latent or whatever, are real. They're real, real, real. We have the abilities to do things, and they're things that, like if you delve into ancient texts, into ancient documents, stuff like that, um, this is the kind of stuff that went on centuries and centuries and centuries ago. But it was pushed out of us. It was shamed out of us.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was, people got killed,
Mm-hmm.
because, they were
Well,
accused of being a witch. Like, oh, you're a witch. You can do certain things. You can, you bring a sheep back to life or something just because
well,
you need that sheep. And it's like, oh, we got to kill you because you brought a sheep back to life. Like, what?
well, I do want to talk about the disconnect because this, and we try to keep it at, we're gonna try it because I actually have another appointment. I didn't tell you I got another meeting at 11 Central Time, but we got
Oh, we
we got
we can
about
keep it
20
short.
more minutes. We got about 15, 20 more minutes, but 15
Yeah.
minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know. We'll see. Those watching, please feel free to chime in and your thoughts. I'll be checking out our comments in a moment. I can't see all comments though because of the way the platform we're using. But what you just said, that disconnect, and this is where I would love for us to tease out because I think this is so important right now. I think the level of disconnect that has happened, understand how intentional that disconnection has been because, in fact, we are so powerful that when you talk about indigo children, there's actually a whole group on Clubhouse. I meant to tell you this. It's the Indigo Club or something, and there it's adults who, because I think the generation of indigo children are, they're in their adulthood or what have you, and just talking about having those qualities and I've only attended maybe one or two of their discussions, and it was feeling very heavy laden with how challenging it is to be an indigo child and be how misunderstood these gifts are, and not having spaces that really welcome that energy or understand that energy. But I did want to say, I think what a big take home lesson for people to consider is, if we were all allowed and pushed to be as powerful as we actually are, we would not be able to have the systems that are in place. Systems have been put in place, and we're talking from government to church to family to all kinds of systems, education, work, that have been put in place to create these different hierarchies of power and control, and which can equal monetarily or whatever. Um, and I think we're watching right now in our society, I think again, COVID was the great pull your panties down or pull the pants down, pull the carpet, it was the great puller to really show what was already really there. And one of the things, as people are attempting to navigate, just even the great resignation to me was a pure way of showing our superheroism. That people, just by being still, just by not having to do what somebody else told them to do in terms of a regular workday, gave them enough stillness, enough time to reflect, enough, and in that reflection gave courage, gave thought, creativity, and said, you know what, I don't know if I need this job no more. I think, in fact, I can, I am, I will. Ta-da. So that ability to connect elicited a whole idea of things to do. And so when we stay in a state of disconnect, when we stay in a state of not having an opportunity to connect, and again, mind you, I'm talking about connection with self. I'm not talking about, and connection to others is important too. But if you have to start with the connection with self, because that's where the superpower lives. That's where the confidence lives. That's where the talents live. That's where the curiosity lives. So we have when you hear people talk about disconnect, don't just think and understand social media can be a connector in a very disconnecting way. Now, what I think you and I are doing, Barry, we are attempting to provide information, education, editorial thoughts, food for thought in a way that hopefully is high vibration. But obviously, there's a lot on social media that is just wanting you to stay at a very low frequency and numb you out to a point where connection is very what? You're more connected to this external than you are to the internal. So if you can feed yourself social media or these things in the social spaces that actually allow you to nurture self and connect more with self, I think that's a positive use of social media. But most of it is not that. But that to me, the disconnect is what is creating us to not really sit in our superhero. But if we actually really allow ourselves to connect with self, connect with higher source, connect with ancestors, spirit, these areas, that's when the superhero, that's when the magic, that's when it, that's when you can start to really believe this. So it's my opinion. I don't know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, COVID definitely brought out the superhero in people, and that's right in line with the theme of the concept of a superhero. And let me just drop this in there. We aren't going to really go into it, um, but the whole Egyptian or Kemetic myth story of Isis and Osiris, um, their child being Heru. Heru is where Heru is about avenging his father's death because Osiris was cut up into all these pieces, thrown to the four winds by his brother Set. Isis, in her mystical, magical, feminine power, found the pieces, put them back together magically, including his member, you know, his penis, including that piece,
Mm-hmm.
copulated magically and produced Heru. All
Mm,
right, and Heru, as the story goes, was about avenging the death of his father. So this is where we get the whole concept of a superhero
mm,
from that the
mm.
child of the two, the goddess and the god, the deity Osiris. So I just want to drop that in there. We don't have time to talk about none of that. But
But that was powerful what you said, and
we don't have time to talk about it. Right.
it's
But this is where
yeah.
the concept of the hero comes from because in tragedy, in all this stuff that's going on, we rise to the occasion. We find this
Right.
deep well of resources that are sitting there waiting inside of us to tap
Absolutely.
into and to use to go out and do whatever needs to be done. And that's when you were talking about like COVID, how people realize like I I don't need this. I'm fine. Things are good.
Right.
Life's still on.
Right.
Yeah, you still, and then I can do. Let me try to do this. Let me try to do this. Something that I was trying to do. I got the time now to do it.
Right.
So
Or let me reevaluate. Maybe
let me
maybe I'm not
reevaluate.
gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, let me just reevaluate. Let me reevaluate relationships. Let me reevaluate friendships. Let me reevaluate work. Let me reevaluate family. Let me reevaluate myself.
Hmm.
Again, it's
Hmm.
not, it's and I don't want to make it seem like and then COVID was the great, so many great things because obviously COVID there was a huge amount of loss, literal loss in so many ways, and obviously we're still paying, we're just beginning to pay the effects of it all. However, I think we have to begin to understand what loss has the potential to do. And I was talking to Barry. We are today is officially entering Scorpio season, and I was telling him about Scorpio, the archetype of Scorpio. Scorpio gets teased to be the mysterious and sexy and about sex and mystery, and it's when you really start to dig and really start to understand, and why I say this is important right now, because we're now entering a season. And so typically, I don't know, pay attention to your Novembers. Pay attention from October 24th to about November 20th or 21st. Pay attention to energetically how you feel. I just ask you to pay attention. That doesn't mean bad, doesn't mean good per se, but just pay attention to it, because this energy is typically a time for great reflection and great opportunity for rebirth and potential loss. Understanding that loss is for the rebirth, loss is for the transformation. Loss is not to make you bad. Loss is not to traumatize you. It can feel traumatizing, absolutely. It can feel very disappointing. It can feel very heavy, but in fact, that is giving you the opportunity to sit still and connect and get into your superheroism so that you can transform, so that you can be, so rebirth can happen, so that you can show up differently. So,
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, transforming. I mean, the reason why I think we wanted to talk about this is, I think even both of us are in that superhero transforming cycle, and really want to encourage other people. Like, you got to tap into your superhero. You have to. And I do like sci-fi. I'm not gonna lie, I do. But I wasn't like really into comic books growing up. I wasn't really into all of that. But I was into extraordinary achievement, extraordinary like accomplishments, not just physically, like making a lot of money or making, position, getting social status, not just that, but just personal, developing yourself to the point where you're transforming yourself into something that is even greater. And only, it's hard to say, oh, I'm transforming myself. If you're actually really transforming yourself, it's gonna affect everything around you, because everything around you is going to benefit from your transformation. So I definitely want to encourage people to tap into your superhero, and begin to transform yourself
yes,
into that greater and greater and greater, you know, superhero that you are.
absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you for saying that, because we're going to be wrapping up. And I think this is our point, is not just to talk about, philosophize, but to hopefully encourage one to be we haven't really, we've done some testimonials here or there about how we met and all that. But, we'll have to, as we continue, share more of our testimonies so that, you know, any topic that we're talking about is coming from a space that we're going through ourselves, and that, push us to have conversation about it. And I know for me, and we'll kind of wrap up, I'll let Barry share a little bit more of some things that, if you want to stay connected to him, and ways to get involved in some really superhero things that he's doing. Um, I'll also just share, I have, this has been a heavy season for me of, and poor Barry, poor Barry, he's been so patient and listening to me change my mind every single day of, this is how I want my career to go. No, this is where I want I'm in a heavy season of career shift, a heavy season of that. We have these seasons, I've had heavy seasons of personal development shifts, heavy seasons of family stuff. Right now I'm heavily in a season when it comes to career and work, because for me, career and work is very much in alignment with me. It's not a job on the outside. It has to be heavily in alignment with the core of who I am. That's how I'm able to be in my superheroism, is to stay connected to that. So I'm in a big transition. And I will say, I've always been someone, I've always been an educator, I've always been in the field of healing, whether it be from physical therapist to artist to counselor. And, I'm at a season now where I'm real clear, like I am here to inspire and to help others better understand their own light and to help others thrive, and really get in their superhero isms and really go there. And I know many of you on social media have seen me more as artist, but please understand this is still part of being an artist. This is still very part, me being able to be creative, me being able to publish, me being able to be in the public and still talk about these things. So this superhero part is real in my life right now. I'm really attempting to tap into my superhero so I can go forth and do the 30,000 things that I'm constantly wanting to do. Although I am honing in now, I'm honing in. So I am going to put, if any of you are feeling like you want to continue to have these types of conversations, needing more information about connection, needing more mentoring, more guiding, and the epitome is coaching. Um, for me, at least, I'm going to put in the little scroll here so you can see how to kind of get some of my services. I think the best way is to join the Patreon. That's where I have different subscribers and where I provide different things. But I also, I am now really, I've introduced myself. I'm a certified health coach, but I'm also a Thrive coach. I really am helping people thrive. That's really, it took me a minute. I've had therapy myself. Barry knows I got a spiritual business coach. Yes, I have a spiritual business coach who helps me tap in because again, my business is not just a business. It's about me being in alignment with my spirituality. And so the thing that I've really come to is like, no, I think my goal is to help people thrive. That's really it. So if that's something you're interested, curious about, we have on Patreon different subscriber levels that give you opportunity for that. Whether it be just a $5 where you're really just getting more information, the new podcast that I have, you're getting bonus content. But if you do the higher level, the $29.99, that's called the She Collective. And my services really are, yes, they are intended for women. So my men, that's not we can have a conversation for sure. But this particular She Collective is specifically for women, for multicultural women who are needing more mentoring and guidance. And one of the things of subscribing to that level, in addition to being able to come to our monthly astrology workshops, and I'm about to announce another monthly virtual meetup that I'm going to be providing for that group of women focused on health, wealth, and relationships. So that'll be coming. It's time for you to meet with me one-on-one, just for 30 minutes once a month, for me to provide feedback, guidance, and mentoring. It's not coaching. It's really feedback for the coaching that involves independent individual sessions so we can really dig in. So that's that. But I want to have Barry, because Barry has some things coming up as well, and let him have this space. And I will also put in this little scroll a way to get in contact with him to learn more about his stuff. So passing the mic to you, my love.
Awesome. And just yeah, I mean, I'm a superhero, so I understand the shifts and vicissitudes of life and how we go back and forth with working our life out. Absolutely,
Yeah.
That's a part of the journey. It's a part of the deal. But if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you are engaged with young people like 8 to 18, I am launching an online academy for young people to teach them how to be an entrepreneur and leadership skills. So if you're interested in getting specifically this first cohort of students, we're going to be using, so I'm a big proponent of project-based learning. So the project that we're doing is called Project Sparkle, and it's teaching young people how to make jewelry. And in that context, we're going to be teaching them entrepreneurship, leadership skills. So if you have a young person, it's going to be these first several cohorts are going to be free. So If you are interested in getting a young person that you are connected to involved in learning how to make jewelry, because that's going to be the first project that we're doing, and then helping them understand some entrepreneurship and some leadership skills, then you can just go to my website, bshawnriley.com, and click on Project Sparkle, and that'll get you right to the information. And put your stuff in there, and then somebody will contact you for more information.
Yeah, awesome. And
So that's
also,
it.
if you don't have a youth, there's another way to support Project Sparkle. Let's say you don't have someone young, but you really believe in youth getting creative, learning financial literacy and entrepreneurship leadership, and you want to support um, Barry's Academy. He does have a GoFundMe as well.
That's
And
right.
that's, yes, that is what's going to allow the students to go for free. So yeah,
Right.
baby, I do this all day. I'm helping you. I'm your yes.
Yeah.
I'm the hype girl on the side because I see how hard he's working.
Right.
Anyway, but by contributing to the GoFundMe, this is what allows the youth to go for free. So this is why this becomes so critical to get involved. Is the GoFundMe on the website, or is that a separate? Should I put a separate
It's a
link?
separate thing. You can just go to GoFundMe and type in Project Sparkle, and it'll come up.
Ah, that's how it
Yeah.
comes up. All right, so everybody
Yeah.
heard that. Yeah.
You can just go to the GoFundMe platform and just type in Project Sparkle, and boom, it's right there.
Right there. And we'll make sure that within the next few days, we'll put that link also on the website, right? So that way, if people come to your website, they can
Absolutely.
also go through that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, as usual, this is always fun. I never get really sick of doing this with you. It's kind of funny. We get tired. We be more like, oh no, we gotta get it. We gotta go do spiritual shit. But
Yeah, it's fun. It's good to you know talk about these things in the public arena, because we talk about this stuff all the time. But
right, right,
it's good to talk about these things with people, or at least
absolutely.
talk about them publicly. Yeah,
Yeah, and
for
and I hope
sure.
that right now we're just attempting to build community around this and get the word out, and it's really allowing this to be more organic, just to to a way for us to have these conversations beyond us, but also to have you be able to tap into the different things, the different opportunities, the different education that we both offer. We're both educators. We're both, lovers of all things spiritual and deep and all of that. So I, definitely I appreciate everyone who watches these and who tunes in, and hopefully we give you some food for thought as you're navigating this very amazing life that we have that is full of some like some freckle neckle, but also full of some like wow. So yeah.
Hmm.
The only last thing I'll say, and I didn't mention this, is have y'all listened to my new podcast? I got a new podcast. Please come to the new podcast. It is finding your voice after 40. Finding your voice after 40. And it's you know what? We're getting a lot of listens. I look at the little analytics and I'm like, wow, people are tapping in, and it's really interviews with men and women, not just women, men and women, multicultural men and women. I really wanted to open up this space for the different identities, but really focused on what is this life after 40. And like I said, superheroism stuff can get real loud after 40. So
Yeah, it's
we'll
really
visit
good.
that.
It's really good. Yeah, I give my stamp. It's a um, good conversations that you have, and you always. I have to say this. You always sound so good on the podcast. Like really, it just sounds so like you're
That's
like
funny.
a professional, like a real, like I mean, you are a
I
real
am a
pro. You are a real pro.
professional.
You I need to stop saying like you sound like a professional.
You
No,
sound
you
like
are
a
a
professional,
professional.
girl.
You need to like right. So yeah, go ahead and watch listen to those podcasts. Yeah,
Oh,
so that we can
well,
push
it's so
push Kenya into larger and larger and larger um uh, platforms because they're really good. They're
Well,
absolutely
it's thank you. First of all, thank you. And I realized, my music was my first way of coming into the public and introduced me to it. But, my goal is to take the bigger stage when it comes to um, thriving and when it comes to being inspiring and particularly showing that these later stages of life actually are quite magical. And I want to be that person who people can. I want my legacy to say, hey, she was that person. One, this is the beautiful thing about having podcasts, and anything that you publish, it's immortal. It lasts forever. Any recording you do, any book you do, obviously any song I've done, any speech you do that's public, it is immortal. So when you are gone, it's still there. And that's
Mhm.
really powerful for me to be able to therefore talk about these stories with people, from being to be able to continue to make music and produce it and publish more things and have, because it doesn't go away. So even when I shift into other realms, it will still be there. So it's exciting. I love doing things that can be published.
Awesome. Absolutely.
All right. Well, that is it. You guys have an amazing, amazing Sunday, beginning of Scorpio season today. Happy birthday to Alma. I have a lot of friends' birthdays today. A lot. Like, I have like 5 or something. So happy birthday to,
Wow.
I
That's a lot of
know, it's
birthdays.
really kind of interesting. Marquel Jordan's birthday, Nicole Streeter's birthday, Naive Lad's birthday. There's some other 2 I'm missing, but because we're special, Scorpios. So, anyway. All
Right.
right. Bear, you stay right there. Others, we will see you guys in December. We will not see you in November. We're taking that month off, but we'll be back in the first Sunday of December with another cool topic.
Mm. Peace.
All right. Peace.